Get to Know Me podcast is sponsored by Big Love LLC, an online clothing apparel shop for men, women, children, and no label. Feel free to visit our website today at bigluv.bigcartel.com. That's biglove.bigcartel.com.
No one be on your shitty ass social media or your fucking random ass no bar ass podcast. I don't give a fuck about that nor you.
No joke right there. I'm so serious. Why so serious? Little joke. Just let her know when you want to be serious. Cause when you want to be serious, I'm gonna play around, and when you want to play around, I'm gonna be serious. And if we want to play around and be serious at the same time, I'm just gonna walk off and be serious and playing around while I'm being serious. Because I'm just playing around. Cause I'm never serious.
Why, you been feeling good?
No, I ain't been feeling it bad. But I thank God for being as well as here.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, BizZy BalBoa. Welcome to the Get to Know Me podcast. Roll it up, twist it up, and light it, because it's about to go down. Welcome to the Get to Know Me podcast. Go ahead and roll it, twist it, light it, get your coffee or your tea, meditate, pray, sage the building, because you never know what may be said over the airways of the Get to Know Me podcast platform. I'm the host and creator, BizZy BalBoa. Welcome to the show. Today, we have an incredible artist that I really enjoyed reading up on, and I can't wait to read more about this artist. Very experienced, you know what I mean? We got a veteran here from Brooklyn, New York. Has had all type of great success working with other artists that's well known, Trinidad James, Ari Lennox, and Styles P, to name a few. Also has the Reject Dreams company where they curate their own events and they're throwing shows and doing their own thing. We got a couple of tracks on the project that's coming up that's going to be dropping on Even. I want to talk a lot more about that, but we're going to get into that. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between, please welcome ARTZ.
Hey, I appreciate you, Reject. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling blessed.
That's amazing.
Very, very grateful for life and another opportunity to to get to tell my story and also meet somebody like yourself and share my story with a bunch of your listeners and people on your platform.
Definitely, yep. Man. Blessed to have you, and shout out to Clutch for recommending that we interview and we meet. Somebody that we both respect and look at as family. So I feel like it's great that he brought us together. And just reading your story was incredible. But obviously, I want you to tell us a little bit more about your story. So why not start off with your name and where you're from?
Yeah, so my name is ARTZ, and generally it's because I'm an artsy kind of guy. All my music for the past like 10 plus years have came with art. So everything from like paintings to comic books to digital art, from NFTs, things of that nature, exclusive merch pieces. And what I was doing early on is I was curating my own events and highlighting people within my Reject Dreams community that were visual artists, right? People who painted, illustrated. So that's one reason why my name is ARTZ, because I'm not only coined as like a artist, but I also coin myself as a event curator and an art curator as well. And then the second reason is it's an acronym as well, which a lot of people don't know, but maybe I should start promoting this more. It's always reaching the zenith. So, as we dive deeper into my story, there was a moment in my life when I was in my teen years. I don't want to spoil it because I think it might be one of your questions, but that something traumatic happened to me, and it made me realize, like, okay, maximizing your potential is a big thing in life. You never know when your card is going to be punched, and it's important for me to always extract the most out of people, including myself, right? First and foremost, obviously. And sometimes we don't maximize our potential in life because we get comfortable and complacent. So, for me, my name is always a reminder of like, yo, go as hard as you can, do the most as you can while you're here on earth. You never know when your card is going to get punched or when your time is up. So, do it to the max, reach the zenith. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I used to watch a lot of Les Brown on YouTube, motivational speaker. and he has that Live Full and Die Empty. I actually named one of
Mm,
my clothing brands after that. But basically, similar to what you're saying, like,
right.
take every day and live it to the fullest because you never know. Like you mentioned, things happen all the time, and we don't know whenever our number's going to be called. So
Right.
I think that's incredible. Just reading a little bit about your background, and I definitely am going to get into that a little bit more. Uh,
Yeah.
just to say a little bit here to spoil it, but
Yeah.
we all
No.
have our stories of how we got into music. We all have our journeys. What was that moment for you? Can you remember that very first moment where you're like, ah, man, this is hip hop. Like, I want to do this shit,
Yeah.
you know?
So, one, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, by way of Queens. So I represent the BQE. I went to school in Queens my whole life. Was raised in East New York, Brooklyn. So that just being the soundtrack to my life, right, was
Yeah.
kind of crazy in itself. Queens was very diverse, all about hustle, get the money. Brooklyn is more gutter and
Yeah.
mixy in that sense, right, and thorough. So yeah, being from both of those areas kind of like cultivated who I was.
Mhm.
But I always say this, I got to give credit to my mom, Mama Arts, because my mom, she had me when when she was very young. She had me at like 19 years old, and she had my older brother when she was 15 years old. At the same time, she had lost her mother
Mm.
at the age of uh, 20 years old. She had to take care of multiple siblings and us as kids.
Wow.
But my mom was an aspiring creative. She was a B girl. She used to break dance.
Okay.
She was a singer. She was very artistic. She used to draw, paint, sew clothes, fashion design.
Wow.
So growing up in the household, because her childhood was kind of like taken away from her in some way, she kept a bit of that alive by throwing house parties.
Okay.
So a lot of my childhood was spent like all the hustlers and the grinders and the B girls and B boys was coming to the backyard of my crib, and she was throwing like huge barbecues.
Oh, man.
So we was just kids running around in the barbecue, like being active, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and she was a singer too. This is some real like Puerto Rican type vibes. But if you're familiar with freestyle music, which was kind of like in that age of the 90s and stuff like that, that was more like hip hop, R&B, house in some
Okay.
way,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
And it was done by a lot of Latin Puerto Ricans specifically, right? But she was a freestyle singer, and she actually had a record. Rest in peace. At the time, it was Darkman X, but as we know him, DMX.
DMX.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so she was always into the creative. So growing up, I'm listening to Lauryn Hill, Miss Education. I'm listening to Big. I'm a Notorious Biggie, obviously. I say Big because obviously I'm from Brooklyn. So,
Yeah.
but for people
Listening
out
to
there that
all the
don't know
greats.
Biggie, yeah, Hov, Jay Z, Nas, Outkast,
Hmm.
Q-Tip, just everything that was the upper echelon of hip hop
Yeah.
and rap. And then around the time when I was about 10 years old, in East New York, I used to have this upstairs neighbor that would come down, and he would pretty much in patois, he would like reggae chat, like, you know what I'm
Oh, man.
saying? Yeah.
Okay.
So he would come downstairs and pop in the instrumental tape. At the time, I'm aging myself a bit, I guess, with this, but at the time there used to be these Hot 97 instrumental CDs,
uh,
and he would pop them in, and I'd be playing video games. I was mainly into basketball at the time, but he would rap it reggae style, and eventually I just got tired of like him coming down, and I
hmm
noticed he was spitting the same rhyme, but it
hmm
just sounded different because of the dialect, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, the next time he come down here, I'm gonna have some shit prepared. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I remember how I went to my mom in the kitchen. She was making like some food, rice and beans, something on the stove, and I was like, yo, ma, I wrote this rap. Like, what you think? And
Uh-huh.
it was probably trash looking back, but she was like, "Oh wow, that sounds good. Like that's dope. You
Uh-huh.
got something there." And I was like, "For real?" She's like, "Yeah." So when he came down, I rapped it. He was like, "Oh, like
It's like,
respect."
oh, that's how you
So
coming?
Yeah. So at that time, I just kept writing and writing and writing, and basketball was still my love. I wasn't really taking music serious, but
Hmm.
what I was doing was I was using a voice recorder on the computer, and I was playing the instrumentals and then rapping over them. And
Rapping
those were
over.
like my first demo tapes and stuff. And then there came a point in my life when I was about 15 where I had spent the whole summer with my grandfather, and he had passed away after I worked with him the whole summer. But throughout the whole summer, he was just playing me nothing but old school records. Everything from Marvin Gaye to Nina Simone to, you name it, BB King, Temptations, Dramatics, everything in between, right? And
Hmm.
I just was like, yo, this is like, that opened my mind to even more old school music, which
Right.
I really love. And I wake up every day listening to Bill Withers and all
Oh
the
my
greats.
goodness. Yeah.
And from there, I feel like I met the perfect combination between my rap influence and my soul influence.
Uh-huh.
And then I just like put down the basketball completely, and
Hmm.
I just took to the composition book, and I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing. Um, and then yeah, and that's how we got here, pretty much.
Wow. I
Mm,
love that. I love that journey. I love that.
yeah,
Man, that's
it's been a
incredible.
crazy one.
Yeah,
And
it's fun, like thinking back to those moments as a child, like you guys running around the house and stuff, not knowing what you're really embracing that experience and how that, kind of took on to your life now. Like, you were in that environment. It's like you were meant to be in this environment. You know what I mean?
yeah, God has an interesting way of putting you in the right place at the right time
Tell
for
me about it.
everything,
Yeah.
including your experiences that rub off on you. To me, it was kind of crazy. It's still, I got to pinch myself, and that's why I said at the beginning of the interview, blessed and grateful. Right? I
Hmm.
went from being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, looking at Biggie and the Locks to
Yeah.
now being able to share the stage with some of these people and
Right.
perform and do records with them, and you know what I'm saying? So in
Yeah.
that aspect, it's a thing of, that's why I love to share the message of reject dreams, right? Because for every time you've been rejected, there's manifestation that exists where you can actually see something in your mind and go out there and do it. Now, not everybody is going to be LeBron James, right?
Right. Right.
Or at the highest level. But if you hustle and you can figure out your lane,
Hmm.
I think the opportunity is endless. No matter what you're doing.
I agree with you on that. And dreaming about it and wanting to be a part of the music industry is one thing, but like you mentioned, you've now been able to actually breathe life into that dream and live it and experience the stage with other artists that you looked up to as a child, and now you're, sharing songs with them, doing videos with these people, doing tours and things like that. Like, what's been that moment where you're just like, wow, like, have you had that moment? Have you felt like I've made it in some sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I think I've made it in the sense of, and that's why lately I've been putting gratitude uh, in front of everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you're able to get, and I don't want to say this on a surface level either for the listeners, like, but when you're able, I've toured in different countries, right? Like, I've gotten paid for my craft. I still get paid for my craft for everything I do, right? I don't work a regular 9 to 5, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
blessed and truly, grateful for.
Right.
Um, so in that sense, yes, I am successful already in my own mind, right? In
Mm-hmm.
this day and age, you're either emerging or you're like Kendrick or Drake, right? There's no in between a lot of the
Right.
time, especially how society looks at it from the optic level.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, recently, I'm the type of person where I have like that Kobe, Michael Jordan
Yeah.
mentality. I don't know if you ever seen a clip of Kobe where the interviewer is like asking him like, "Yo, are you happy?" And he's like, "Job
For
ain't
what?
done yet. Like,
Yeah,
what?
the
For
job
what?
ain't done.
We ain't
Yeah.
win. We ain't win the championship yet,
Yeah.
right?" So for me, in some of my greatest moments, and this is just me being personable, those have also been some of my depressing moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll give you one specific, for example. There was an event I did in New York where it was a watershed moment for me because I went from having like 300 people at the door to like 3,000 people, like a block and a half down in Times Square. And I was the only
Wow.
person performing. And then a
Wow.
few weeks after, that same energy bled into Art Basel in Miami, which I do something there usually every year. And I had the opportunity to curate and produce an event where I was the talent booker, and I was able to bring myself out, Trinidad James, Styles P, Busta Rhymes,
Wow.
Murder Beats, right? And there was 5,000 plus people there. So, and then I've also been on tours with great artists like Currency and people that I literally grew up on or discovered on the blog era. I remember with Busta specifically, it was kind of crazy that day because I recall the first time I heard "Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See" in my dad's Accurate Legend at like freaking like 10 years old, maybe younger,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, yo, it's bugged out that like it could go from that to that, right?
Right. Just like that.
And yo, while I'm on stage, Nori too was on that show,
Wow.
and shouts to Nori. But while these people are hugging me, and like I'm that guy for that night, you know, I'm the one who brought the opportunity, the bag, the event production. I'm
everything.
You know, everything's lit. I got a bottle of Moet in my hand, bigger than me. Like, you know, I'm just feeling a million.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember coming back the next week and like, you know, obviously my gram and all the social stuff is up. But then I'm back in a Chinese restaurant in Queens, and it's just like nobody like knows me while I'm eating in there, right? I'm still in this portion of the world and this in my lane, right? So
right.
That moment, and that's why I say sometimes your greatest moments could also be your most depressing, because then you ask yourself like, all right, that was cool, but how could I top that? What am I gonna
What's
do next?
Yeah.
What's next?
That's
and then
so
you
true.
become it's like you fighting yourself.
Yeah.
And you competing with yourself, which is a blessing because that's what keeps pushing you. But if you don't balance that out with gratitude and being grateful, you could end up doing this and not being happy. And then for me, the ultimate success, to wrap up my story, is being happy. It don't matter if you got millions of dollars, if you getting paid to do this, if you're not happy, if the people around you ain't happy with you, then ultimately I don't think you're successful. And that's, you know, the more I've gained perspective in life and wisdom, those are the, you know, I used to be caught up in like, all right, the validation, right? As every artist is really, you know, but to be honest now, for me, it's about being the idol and the example for my nieces and nephews, for my brothers and sisters, for my mom to be sharing the story, for people like you to be like, yo, but ARTZ did it, you know, and that's what make all the rejects could come up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it means more now for me.
Yeah, you just dropped a big gem right there, because it is important to find that balance between being proud of yourself and recognizing how far you've come, but also not getting too boastful to where you feel like you can't top that, or you're not even appreciative of these things that you're accomplishing because you want more, And it's interesting because today someone asked me what's one of my favorite quotes, and I told them I like the quote, focus on what you have, you'll end up having more. Focus on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. And I love that because it's so true. It's very true. And I've been in that position where I've had to focus on what I have. You know what I mean? And I'm the type of artist where I love to work with what's working for me and use what I got to make it happen. So I relate to you a lot whenever I see you creating your own lane and doing your own thing and not waiting on a yes. You just made the opportunity, and not only just for yourself, but for other people. People like you that do things like that, where you create lanes for not only yourself but other people. I mean, you're very special to our society and to the culture, because there's not many people, that are willing to put themselves out there. It's a lot. People don't realize how much work it takes to put into something and to have other opportunities for other people. You put so much pressure on yourself because you want to make sure everything works out for the betterment of everyone and not just yourself. So it's a lot of stress, and it takes a person that really loves what they're doing to put themselves under that type of microscope. So I don't know if people have really expressed their gratitude for the things that you've done. I know that you're expressing that for yourself, but hopefully you're experiencing that back, because that's something big, and I admire you for that a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, a lot of the times it comes when people giving you the flowers, but
Yeah.
sometimes it might be too late.
Yeah.
Or they don't give you your flowers and you done a lot. Or even it comes from even just me being honest, me being a younger leader and having so much tunnel vision that I'm not understanding the leadership, how to take the role of leadership and move
Right.
those reins to make people feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it comes with a lot of different peaks and valleys. But to your point, it's an incredible amount of pressure that most people cannot handle. And for me to even now that I'm more aware of what I signed up for all those
Yeah.
years ago, if I was like that Will Smith commercial where or that movie where he looking back at his younger self, and it's like if I was to tell my younger self like, yo, this is what it's gonna take, I'd
Uh-huh.
be like, what? You know, like
Yeah.
anxiety ain't even a word. Like,
Right.
you know, there's a lot of pressures that come with that, especially because on one end you have like what you said, the inspiration and the admiration, but even with I mentioned somebody like Kobe or Mike, right? Michael Jordan. Like when you watch that documentary, you have two sides of that coin,
Yeah.
right? Yo,
Yeah.
he pushed me to be great, and thank God he punched me in my face in practice. Else I would have never
Right.
became the man, right?
Mhm.
But then you got that other side where it's like, nah, he was an asshole, right?
Right. Right.
And unfortunately, that tough love and
Yeah.
creating that diamond from the rough, you're not gonna please everybody,
You're not.
right? And there's gonna be times, like I said, where you might just be younger and inexperienced, to where you could have navigated the waters a little bit better too, right? So it's a slippery slope. But I appreciate the flowers.
Yeah.
And what I preach to everybody nowadays is like, in order for you to not care so much about the credit and recognition that you get, whether it's too late or too early, is fully figuring out how to love yourself the best, how to appreciate yourself the best.
Very
Because
true.
when you do, and I think that's something we all continue to do. Like I could love myself to death today, but then tomorrow something happened and I dislike what I did, right?
Right.
So I think that to me is the key, is like really being able to love yourself better, and really respect and appreciate yourself for your own doing,
Yeah.
because it takes a lot. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm ill.
Yeah.
I just did
Sometimes
that.
you
I'm
got to do
ill. You
that.
ill.
You
You know
have to
what I'm
be that
saying?
person for yourself. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I love our conversation so far.
Thank you. Likewise.
Now we've been talking a lot about gratitude, and like we mentioned, you had an experience when you were 17 years old where
Yeah.
you were hit with a stray bullet, and
Yeah.
I know that that's probably a traumatic event, most definitely. So thank you for even being open to sharing that, first of all.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's I don't know, like reading that, and I even watched like another video of you speaking about it. It's like, how does one proceed with that? Like that, it's just something that I cannot fathom, like, it does something to me whenever I think about it. I don't even know how to describe the feeling, but for you, I know that had to change you personally, but can you kind of describe to us, how did that change you in your personal life, and how did that change you in your artistic life?
Yeah. So I will say this, right? When you're faced with that traumatic experience, right? I was going through PTSD without understanding how to even diagnose myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was only 17. I was a baby still, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the best way I could explain it is a conversation I had with my little brother recently, right? There was this video that my producer sent to me, and it was a video of cows and bulls, right? A
Mm-hmm.
bull and a cow. And when a thunderstorm comes, and it's a huge thunderstorm, what the cow does is the cow runs away from the storm,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the cow thinks that, yo, me running away from the storm, I'm gonna be better off that way. But what happens is the storm continues for such a long period of time that the energy that cow drains running away from it, it was a tremendous amount. Versus the bull, in that moment, the bull runs toward the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first, when that bull runs towards that storm, those first few moments is difficult because you're in the eye of the storm, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when you get through that moment, you defeat fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cow dies most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was that young, the truth is I left home at 17, right? I got my own apartment. I went out and experienced community college, right? In a lot of ways, I was the cow in that moment of my life. I felt like, all right, if I got shot in this neighborhood, this area, I got to leave home. I got to go chase my dreams. I got to maximize my potential, right? There's bravery to that too. But I was kind of like running away from the storm in some way, right? I guess it all depends on how you perceive it, right? But this is what I was telling my younger brother. And then once I realized, once I got, because at the time I had lived in East New York till I was 15 in Brooklyn, and my mom left to Pennsylvania for 2 years. Well, she's still there, but I left for 2 years, and that's where I got shot at, right? So I moved back to New York. Now, some people could say, yo, nah, you was the bull because you left home and you had to deal with like real world problems after that, rent, all these different bills, right?
Right.
And but for me, home at that moment represented a traumatic experience of me almost losing my life.
Yeah.
So the only way I knew how to get out of that was kind of running away from it, you know? And you know, the first couple years was difficult, if I'm being honest, looking back at it. Like I said, when you're going through the moment, you don't really, you know, but I remember vividly at the time Kanye's 808s and Heartbreak had came out. And I was really vibing on that album because the truth is I was really depressed. I wasn't looking like my best self. I wasn't feeling like my best self. I remember at the time, like, I really had my cousin had left to Pennsylvania to live there too, and he was kind of like my road dog that would come with me to events. And I had to start going out by myself to hustle like my mixtapes and stuff. And I had like this social anxiety.
Yeah.
So where it's like, yo, at any moment some shit could pop off and shots ring, right? And I'm from the hood too, so it's like that shit happened to me on some like stray bullet thing, right? But being from it and then in the environment all the time and not happening, then you leave the environment and happens, it kind of messes up your mind with that situation. And then what I did is eventually I had to turn that corner and I had to become the book. Right? I had to go into the eye of the storm and be like, yo, if I really want this dream to happen, I gotta be social, right? I gotta be out there not scared, not fearful of my life. I gotta be willing to put myself on the line. And since then, you know, years and years later, I done been to every, you know, almost every part of the world. And most of my tour trips, dolo. I have family and friends like Clutch in different places where it's like I'm always good, but I put myself out there, and it was because I ran into the eye of the storm where it was like, yo, if you want it bad enough, what are you willing to do? Well, what level are you willing to go? Now, obviously, there's a line in the sand we draw. We're not willing to do anything and sell our souls type stuff, right? But you have to be willing to sacrifice, and with sacrifice comes blessings, and it comes you getting over that hump of being fearful and having the anxiety or the trauma or the PTSD in my case from being shot. So that's why I considered it a blessing, you know. And the moment, you know, it was very traumatic. I was like, I literally went to after being shot. I went to my boy's crib because he didn't want to get his car taken for car insurance at the time, which is another story for another day. But he was just a kid too, right? So, and I had called my step pops and my mom at like 4 a.m. They drove me to the hospital with my little brother and little sister in the back.
Wow.
And all that time, like a whole hour passed by, and I got a bullet and fragments coming out my face. And the bullet still lives with me every day in my nasal cavity. So it's a constant reminder that, like, yo, you here for a reason, you know. But in that moment, I had to keep so much composure. My mom's freaking out in the passenger. My stepfather's driving like NASCAR. I've never seen a man drive that fast. I swear to God. Right? Like, we lived about 20 minutes away from my boy, and he got there in like 2 minutes flat. Like, you know, like maybe not 2 minutes flat, but super quick, right? So I say that to say, when you keep that much composure in a moment like that, cool, but it's like a bandage. It's like a cut that you just that's too deep, and you just put a bandage on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you think it's good, and then years later that thing starts to leak out.
Right.
So that's really what it was. And eventually you got to come to terms with a lot of those things. And those are things that I'm going to continue to live with for the rest of my life too.
Right.
It's not like you heal from something and it never could creep back. It could creep back, you know? So it's a constant battle.
Yeah, it definitely is a constant battle. And I love the analogy that you put together with the bull and the cow. I'm a Taurus, so I can relate to the bull a lot.
Yeah.
I can relate to the bull a lot. So you mentioned that, like, deciding, like, okay, if I want to take this serious, I got to be social. I got to change the way that I'm living with this. Is that the same moment where you decided that you definitely want to pursue music? Like, what was the moment where you decided I want to do this for a living?
Yeah, so that was the moment when I was in the hospital in Pennsylvania. They don't even allow family to stay overnight. So I'm sitting there with bandages wrapped on me. You know, I'm showering. I can't let the water hit my face, all types of stuff like that. Now, I was already in the clubs performing since 15, but my mindset was, okay, if I leave Pennsylvania right now, right, I get out this hospital in a week and a half, leave Pennsylvania the very next week, like I dipped the very next week type thing. I need to go. I need to chase my dreams. I need to go. And I went to community college to psych myself out and be like, yo, that's a networking opportunity. I'll be on college with a bunch of people who want to do music, right? Which was helpful. And then I just went and I started pressing on my make. I remember the first validation that God gave me was when I first got to New York. I went to audition for a reality show, right? And it was like, no cap, probably like 1,500 people outside, and then 34th Street. And I was one of the 15 that made it.
Wow.
And that reality show ended up never coming on, thank God, because it was just shenanigans. But I said to myself, like, while I was online with my cousin, I was like, yo, I can't, like, after I made it, I'm like, yo, bro, like, I can't believe, like, and then walking out of the audition, there was the dude that just looked the most baked. He looked the most high. I was like, yo, bro, you work here? He like, yeah. I like, is this a studio? He like, yeah. I'm like, you got a card? He like, yeah. I'm like, perfect. And I started recording at that same studio too. So I felt like it was God, like,
putting you in the right place.
Like
you said
showing
again.
me the breadcrumbs. You know? And from there I just kind of led with it. You know, I would like. It would be weird to me if all of this wasn't for a reason, and I'm like, all right, then all of this irony just happened to be that
right.
I'm falling in the lap of these things. You know, like there's no irony.
Yeah, like what are the odds? That's crazy.
And you might have to watch it back as a movie to believe how convincing it's been to me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So far, I mean, it does sound cinematic, man. It sounds like a documentary. It needs to be in the making or something, if it hasn't already.
No, it's in the works. Sure.
I love it. Okay, that's something I would tune in for sure. Like, sign me up.
I love that. Yeah, I love to hear. Yeah, my whole life has been documented, right? So eventually it definitely will get there. I don't want to press the button on those things until like it's like, you know,
definitely.
You know, but put it like this: I got Tupac content, like enough of it. You know,
enough. Okay, I love that. Yeah, that's great. I love just watching back how things unfolded. Like I mentioned, the journey for me, I'm like a huge journey person. Like I love, even as a kid, I used to watch behind the music and all the different things, like how did this music video come about? How did this album come about? I always was that girl. So it's not even unbelievable that I'm doing what I'm doing today. Like you mentioned, I don't believe that anything happens coincidentally. I think that we're put in certain positions in certain places for a reason. And we meet people a lot of the times for a reason, whether it's for a temporary time frame or, permanent. But definitely this has been interesting interview so far, but I wanted to get into the album, the Roar Project. So Roar stands for Redemption Outweigh Any Revenge. How did this project come about? What's the background to this project that we have coming out?
So Redemption Outweighs Any Revenge, a short for long for the short name of it, Raw. It was me coming to terms with, like, I was finding myself in a place of angst, right? What you just said about not getting your credit. I was finding myself in a place where it's like, yo, I put on so much, and it's like still the people I done help, the people that done ask me for favors when I'm in the time of need and I need it, phone is dry, right? Nobody want to give you the flowers when sometimes you're looking for it too, right? And I started most of my career, that chip on my shoulder has been the fuel to me being a reject dreamer, right? But then sometimes, like I said, that gift could be the curse, right? And I started to see it change me in some way to where I was taking out my frustration on the world in some way, right? Like my attitude, my outlook, and then I created this title where it's like Redemption Outweighs Any Revenge, and for me it was symbolism, because redemption is to cleanse yourself of any sin, right? And in a lot of ways it's a detox. And ironically, I have a weird way of creating EPs or albums, and then I vicariously live through those things, right? So for the last 3 months, I've had a health situation with my stomach, and it prevented me from eating for 25 days, like any solid food. Yeah, I was straight eating baby food and drinking water for 25 days. I lost 17 pounds. I haven't smoked in 3+ months. I haven't took a drink in 3+ months. Right. So it was, and this experience, I would say it was more life-changing than me being shot in some ways. Right. And to me, it was more painful too. Like feeling like your stomach is gonna explode, not being able to eat, not do nothing. It was deep. Like I felt handicapped, right? I felt like I lost my superpowers for the one time in my life. I sat on the sideline and couldn't create, I'm like a super hard worker. Like I work every day at this, and it put me on the bench completely. It was like, I compared it to like when Kobe had the Achilles heel injury, and he like, I want to be out there winning, but it's like literally I can't, So for the first time in my life, I was like, handicapped like that, right? And and I was creating this project before that happened. So when that happened, the term of redemption, that cleanse, like I said, that detox, literally happened to me right before I was going to release the project. I was supposed to release this project in March, beginning of March, and a few weeks before that, like all of my plans just got crushed. And I was like, wow, like me going through this, ironically, right now in this very moment, I was like, yo, I'm living the art that I create. So that's kind of what it was for me. And if you peep, I keep using the words cleanse and detox, right? And the path of redemption, and the reason why I said this was more traumatic to me than being shot is like, I really didn't think I would be here doing this interview with you. I thought I was like, that's how severe, like it attacked any issues with the stomach. One, it controls every part of your body. Right. I was catching these crazy anxiety attacks that felt like heart attacks, right? I wasn't able to eat anything, not use the bathroom, right? So, and me being the age I am now compared to when I was being shot, the experience and the signs God was showing me was like so in front of me, like and not having no weed or anything else to like food to cope with or anything.
Nothing to blur your vision.
I was right. I was able to digest what the Lord wanted me to see. right? And
It's almost like
ironic,
fasting in a sense, but it wasn't intentional. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, whoa.
right, for
Yeah.
a month, fast for a month. And
Wow.
ironically, Ramadan was happening in the same time that this happened,
That's crazy.
right? So I'm like, and if you listen to the prelude, which is the song Road to Redemption, I
Uh-huh.
brought my whole family together and did that video for it. I say that, ironically, the universe showed me, look, Ramadan's here,
Mm.
to show me like, yo, you could do anything you put your
Wow.
mind to, right? So redemption to me was that cleanse. And
Yeah.
outweighs any revenge. That means like, yo, step away from the angst,
Mm-hmm.
the frustration, the
Right.
being mad.
Right.
Appreciate yourself.
Right.
Forgive yourself. Forgive others for what they do, because some of them is just not at that level of ascension yet.
Right.
God put me in this place to develop this introspection at this moment for a
Mm-hmm.
reason, So that's what this project is, in short, you could say.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. And hearing the background to it, it makes me appreciate these songs even more. And it's crazy because I wrote down notes and now I'm hearing the background of how you came up with this project. And I'm like, okay, I'm not too far off. This aligns. So one of the tracks that you sent was Tan Seats. And I like that. I really love that vibe. Like that's a great song. All of your music, for one, your voice, the tone of it. It's like another interview I did, the guy was saying he feels like it's like 5 categories that you have to really have success in to be like a successful artist. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
that your voice, like you have to have a certain voice. A lot of times that voice really matters. And so I'm listening
100.
to your voice and you sound like you're supposed to be like, you know what I mean? So it doesn't sound like it's a far off dream, it doesn't sound like it's something that is too far fetched. It sounds like this is a well accomplished artist. You know what I mean?
Thank
Everything
you.
sounds really nice, crispy. So with 10 seats, it was very catchy. It was awesome production. I love how, what you're speaking on. Can we get like a little background story on that song?
10 seats.
Uh-huh.
That's not on this project.
Right,
So
right.
so we emailed you a few
A
notable
few a
records.
few notable records, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. We'll
Uh
we'll talk
10,
about a little bit of that too.
no doubt. Yeah, so 10 seats, 10 seats is it was one of those records that what was I doing that? I think I had laid on a couch and I played the beat and I was just like, oh yeah. And the minute I heard the drop, I was just like you just catch that zone.
Yeah.
So I freestyle a lot of my music. So I was freestyling the first few minutes, and I'm just like, yeah. And then once I came in with the intro, I came in knocking heads off and giving all my glory to God, like I
Yeah.
did in the Magomedov. I was like, yo, yeah, this is gonna go. And then once it got to the chorus part, I'm like, I want this to be like testimony, but I also want it to bop. So I was like, I gotta give it that chorus where it just makes somebody want to just drive in the highway and light up the gelato and just cruise and just not no care to the world.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, 10 seats is that, and it's a representation of like what you chasing, right? The
Mm-hmm.
moment of I remember I said earlier, like when my dad pulled up, my dad was always a car guy, and he was a hustler, the dude from the streets, grinding for his independent. He then became an independent business owner, but he had this Acura Legend. I think it was in like 1997. I was
Mm-hmm.
only like, I was a young boy, and it
Yeah.
used to have them tan seats,
Yeah.
them butter tan seats, and forest green with the gold rims.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like, yo, in your mind, the moment you make it,
Uh-huh.
some people compare that to different things, right? But it's like, buy my mama the crib and get the whip with the tan seats. That was like that to me is just like the metaphor of really what it is. And throughout the record, you hear me talking about hustling and grinding. You hear me talking about my dog,
Mm-hmm.
metaphorically my actual dog that you see on all my album artworks, Lucy,
Uh-huh.
and then also my dogs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the people that have been with me for a really long time. Me wanting to manifest and accomplish these things, you know, speaking about my times and my travels and different things like that. But yeah, but 10 Seats all in all is like a motivational soundtrack. It's supposed to make you feel like you could do anything and like you could make it happen no matter the challenge or the hurdles you gotta hop over, you know?
Yeah, I like that. 10 Seats. That's a fire track. Fire. All right. So the next track that I listened to was the Autograph Raps. This one was hard bars, very, 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 very cutthroat bars. I love that. Smooth tone. I like that you're telling your testimony in this as well. Can you give us a little bit more of a background on that one as well?
Yeah, Autograph Raps, that's the lead single off the Raw project.
Okay.
And that one shouts to First Love Music for producing this whole he produced this whole project, this
Okay.
whole EP. But that's a sample from a Nori CNN classic joint. And
Mm-hmm.
when he sent that over, I was just like, I was just like, yo, I gotta come correct on this. I gotta. I'm glad you said hard bars because that was the
Yeah.
approach for it, right? Like, yo, for me, with the one thing that was in my mind, I remember previous months before that, I was touring in Europe and all throughout the US, and everywhere I was going, I like was signing a lot of autographs, like
Yeah.
thousands of autographs.
What?
But
Okay.
nobody ever asked me to sign an autograph in New York. So,
Mm.
and and I get a lot of love in my city too, but
Mm-hmm.
I was just like kind of thrown off with that. So when I had came back to New York after people seen that footage of me signing a bunch of autographs, the first show I had back, a few people asked me for autographs in New York.
That's
So
what's
when I
up.
approached this track, that was how I opened it. Right, it's the type of flow make them ask for autographs. Like
Yeah.
I was purposely like, all right, you gonna
Yeah.
feel this in your chest because that's why they asking for autographs. Like I'm one of them ones,
Yeah, I'm one of the
like
ones. I
no
like
matter if
that.
you slept or you've been under a rock, you're gonna really get to understand this after the record's through.
Yeah, you popped your shit on that. I ain't gonna lie. Cause I had to run it back a couple times. I was like, damn, he going in on this. This hard. I was like, yeah, this one is hard. I definitely like that.
I
And
love it.
then you also gave me more Dilla. Does that have anything to do with Jay Dilla by chance?
Yeah, of course, of course. That's one of my favorite producers ever. When I first started really making music, he was like the first producer that was putting out albums with just beats. So
Mm-hmm.
dudes like him, Ninth Wonder, the Black Milks of the world, like those are the type of guys that I was going and I was like, yo, they just got albums with beats. I'm gonna rap
Yeah.
all over their
Yeah.
joints.
I'm
And then
gonna rap all over this.
right, yeah, and then I was going to the samples that they was choosing, and rapping over the samples sometimes, just straight Gil Scott records. That I'm like, damn, this is a vibe, and he really only saying a couple words on it. Let me just rap over this, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, more Dilla is definitely based off Jay Dilla. The title was inspired by him, and the chorus. I'm saying we need, obviously drill music has been very relevant in the New
Mm-hmm.
York scene.
Yeah.
So we need less drill, more Dilla, more heroes.
Mm.
More heroes, less villains. Not saying we need less drill music, but we need less drilling,
Yeah.
less killing, more positive vibes, and that came together beautifully because then I got
Beautiful
Styles
track.
P. Yeah, Styles P got on it, and he delivered. You know,
Crazy.
crazy,
This
and
track was so beautiful, and I like that it showed like your New York side. Even though what you're saying is we need more Dilla, but then you do it in a drill fashion. It was like so
right.
genius. It was so genius, and then I love how you're switching your cadence, your flow switches up. I'm like, man, yeah, this is like becoming my favorite artist right now already. I'm only 4 tracks in, so
Wow,
I
that means a
definitely.
lot.
I mean,
That means a lot.
I was fangirling heavy over this because I mean this track it really just showed really your just artistic ability to make a really clean, great record. You know what I mean? Like a really great
Thank
record. And so a lot of people can rap, and we know a lot of great spitters, and no disrespect to anybody whenever I'm
you. Right.
talking like this, but a lot of people can rap, and we see it all the time, especially with people that are like, maybe you're a better diss artist, and battle rapping is your thing, but then making a record, it's like, it doesn't sound as good or something like that. But with you, it's like, these are great records. These are records that I can hear different people playing, and different audiences gravitating towards it. They don't have None of them have the same flow, none of them have the same vibe. They all give you a different feeling. And so to me, it's like, you have something for everybody. It's real great tracks here.
I appreciate that so much, because as an artist, those are like, if you got to put, like, in the NBA games, 2K,
Yeah.
they have the superstar.
Yeah,
To
those
me,
stars. Yeah.
those 5 stars or those
Mm-hmm.
99 rating or whatever
Yeah.
it is, to me, the goal for me was always, I always knew I could rap and was lyrical, right?
Yeah.
But there was a moment in my career where I said, okay, I want to be known more so for songwriting ability, record
Mm-hmm.
creating,
Mm-hmm.
and versatility. What
Yeah.
you just said, I couldn't even said it better. Have something, a little bit of something for
For
everybody,
everybody.
and do that the best.
Yes. Do that the
Every
best.
You can argue about who's the most lyrical. You can argue who got the most punchlines. You can even argue about who's the best songwriter, but who's the most versatile.
Yeah. That's
Right?
big.
That's
That's
the
a lane I
area.
would want to be known for. That's a lane
Right.
I would want to
And
be
and
known
there's
for.
not a there's artists like, that's why when people be like, yo, on tour, it's so funny, because when I'm on tour with cats, dudes like Currency, and the different tours I've been on, independent ones with popular artists, the fans be coming up to me, and they say some of the same things you said, right? Like, yo, like, I might have heard your records before, but like, why you ain't like Kendrick or Drake level already? Like, it's there. Like, and then they go like, yo, bro, like, seriously, like, you was spitting, but you just did like 6 genres up there, different music. And I'm just like, yo, I like to call it the cinematic sound
Mm-hmm.
that we've worked on for years. And with a record like More Dilla, I can't even only take that credit. My producer, Todd, the Soundgarden, my brother, he created that beat. And for us, the goal for that record was, when's the last time you heard a soul drill record? I
Yeah.
never heard it. You know what I'm
Ever.
saying?
And I'm talking about,
So
it's so good. Oh my God.
thank you.
Man, it's dope. Like, I love it. I love
Love
it.
that. Yeah. So
It's
that's why I
like
called it
I
More
want
Dilla too.
more of it. It's like
Yeah,
it's like
got you.
it's a new genre. It's not something like you said. I haven't heard this before. Like, it sounded like a new genre of music. I'm like, man, this is fire. You know what I mean? I
I'm
like it.
gonna shoot that up the ladder. I'm
Shoot it
gonna
out the
take
left.
this blip and be like, yo, we need to do more soul
Yeah,
drill.
yeah.
Maybe that's the vibe.
That might need to be like at least one song every project. Keep doing that or something. Make that like a signature. I don't know. I'm just talking.
Nah, you know what's funny? Right now, this wave of sexy drill is happening in New York. Everybody like to take claims to whatever,
Who
but
made it? Yeah.
yeah, and nothing's new under the sun over on this side. But if you go back and you go into my discography for years and years and years, the whole, even my producer Ty, he always says like, yo, the thing that makes you different is that you melodic with the auto tune, but then you really rapping too. And
Yeah.
dudes ain't doing that. Like,
That's true.
and to me, that's like that cinematic sound mixed with the melodic classic hip hop is where my vibe is. To where
Yeah,
it's like,
that's your
you know,
sound. Yeah.
right.
I like
Yeah,
that.
but I appreciate that you connected with it so much, because even the title More Dilla, it was exemplifying that soul in
Yeah.
Dilla, which is Detroit.
Right.
He's from Detroit, but for me it was just like, yo, this is that New York,
Mm-hmm.
but we got that soul like Dilla too. And then
Yeah.
Styles comes in and Styles on it, and it was just a very watershed
Perfect
moment
record.
too.
Yeah, perfect
You
record.
know,
Yeah. And it's crazy because Jay Dilla's name's been coming up a lot in the past couple of interviews. Definitely, his name is still ringing bells even to this day. A big, big, big influence for the culture. Rest in peace. I mean, major,
RP.
major.
Yeah. sure.
And the last track that you sent me was Miss Tandy. Now this one also super catchy, very dreamy. Almost gave me like that vibe that I get when I listen to Janae Aiko's music, like
Oh,
meditation and chill. Like it just made me want to like just I don't know, chill on my balcony, like on a like rainy night, like
right.
like it set a tone, it set a vibe. But yeah, that's another classic record. Like all of these records are
Thank
so
you.
beautiful and good, but this one was really good too. Chef's Kiss, I would say, yeah.
So, well, I will tell you this for fun fact: all of those 4 records are
uh-huh.
produced by different people too. So,
Mm.
and I did, and I didn't even do that purposely on the email, right? Me
Yeah.
and my team didn't do that purposely, but I was just like, "Yo, send her like the most staple records that we probably that are fan favorites or whatever."
Yeah.
And that was sent. And Miss Tandy is a specific one that like that record a lot of girls love. Like
Yeah.
that's and then the dudes be like, yo, that's just so smooth. I can
Yeah.
play that at any time of the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's like one of those records that I freestyled that whole record, which is the amazing part about that song too.
Nice.
So that record just came like, when it happens effortless, but it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Perfect.
that's it.
Yeah.
You did it. Like,
Yeah.
so we were in a really good pocket. Like that was one of those studio sessions where I remember the studio session where it was like, yo,
Mm.
everything that could go right that day was right.
It
The weed
happened.
hit perfect. The
Yeah.
roll on the joint was right. So like
It's
every single
perfect.
thing. Yeah. But yeah, that record is just like, it's funny you say on the balcony while it's raining on Janae Aiko, which is a great compliment too, because I would love to make music with her someday. For me, it was a very therapeutic record. It's
Mm.
meditation and therapy
Yeah.
based, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the only thing I had, if you on an island by yourself for the rest of your life, what are some of the things you need in that moment in my life, right? I need my R&B chick, my lady, the one who's gonna be my counterpart, my love, right? I'm gonna need some hip hop and R&B music. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna need some THC. I'm gonna need these, just to kind of like set that vibe of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really what Miss Tandy was. And the one line when I came up with the chorus, I was thinking of that Hove line where he's like, um uh smashing shorties, R&B chicks with hoodies,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like when he's talking about R&B girls and the shorties that's hoodies, right? And it immediately made me think of the Mayas, the Brandys, the
Mm-hmm.
Riris, the
Mm-hmm.
Leahs, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what made me be like, all I need, a little bit of Hennessy, a little bit of R&D, from
Mm-hmm.
and I mixed it up like that. So yeah, that was one of those records where it's just like instantaneously. That record's such a funny record too, because at first I was like weird about like, yo, how's this gonna come off performance wise?
Uh-huh.
So what I used to do is I used to put it in the middle of my set as like a wind down, because it's an easy record to perform breathing wise.
Right. Right.
And then
Uh-huh.
I realized, like, as soon as the bass drops, I see people like, and I'm like, oh yeah,
and now and now I got to put all this energy into it. This was supposed to be my breath catching track. Now,
right. Now I gotta go up and make sure we in the crowd with it. So yeah. But yeah, that was a record where people were immediately hitting, like, when you do like a TikTok or a snippet of a record and people's like, when's this coming? It
yeah,
was one of those records for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's hot. It's a hot record.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I created that one during the pandemic. So
Mm.
a lot of the records that even you played, right, are a bit older records, right? Autographs Raps is probably the newest, and then more Dilla
Mm-hmm.
and Seats and Miss Tandy was created before the pandemic happened, right? So
Wow.
just even that to me is like a staple in like how long can the record be hot for? If it's
Right.
a hot record, anytime you press play on it, is a timeless record. And
Timeless
what that
record.
means for us is, as an emerging artist, like things that become old to us in a week
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. I'll be over a record once I do it.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like
Exactly.
a week, 2 weeks, I'm on to the next record. But the truth is, marketing and promoting your music. If that record makes you feel like that still, then I need to figure out how to extract as many BizZys as the world that want that record.
That want
that
that
or
record.
the more Dilla that want more soul drill, right?
That's true.
So it's a never ending rabbit hole, but it's beautiful because I look at all my music like I don't have actual children in life, right? Yet at least. But these creations are my babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all their nieces, their cousins, sisters,
Yeah.
brothers of each other. In some
Everything
weird way.
means something, and only you truly understand how these records tie into one another. And you know what I mean? We can follow as much as possible. We can watch, but only you truly know how much this stuff means to one another. And it is your babies, you know. Whenever we listen to your music, how do you want us to feel? What do you want us to take from your music?
I'm not gonna lie. Today, you done took everything I would want a listener to kind of like receive it as. I'm gonna walk away from this interview super happy because, like, you said all the things that I be intentionally driving for, right? Like, so I think just a bunch of what you said, right? Like the versatility, the me having my own style. The fact of it motivates you or inspires you, makes you want to dive into the story more, makes you want to go listen to more music, right? Like, I think the beautiful thing about creativity and creation just in general is that once you create, it then has a life of its own.
Right.
So even the day that, God forbid, I'm gone, Miss Tandy still lives.
Yep.
Tennessee still lives, right? Like, especially in this digital era that we in, like, so I think those things are just truly beautiful. And for me, the goal of being a reject dreamer and reject dreams in general, and just like my whole, belief in my career has been really to like be a testament for somebody that's out there, at square one, step one. They ain't record their first song yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The compliment you said where, yo, this music sound like it's there already, like you major already. If I had $1 for every time I had a compliment, the same compliment I'm talking about on tour, and that could be a gift and a curse because it'd be like, damn, then why ain't there yet, right?
Yeah.
But in actuality, it's like, no, that's an affirmation that I am there. And sometimes you can't look at it from a numbers aspect or a famous aspect, right? It's about, did you get to the end result? Did you inspire somebody? Were you able to monetize for that creation so then you could put on for your next creation? Right. So for me, at the end of the day, I want people to walk away from this thing and be like, yo, Art was who he said he was. He was an artist. He did art. His music is art, and when you listen to every song, when you look at, I'm very proud of, like, one of my good friends texted me the other day and he was like, damn, bro, like, and he's a very hard critic. But he was like, yo, bro, your discography is getting crazy. And like, when I look back and I look at the Spotify, the Apple Music, and I see all the albums and stuff, I'll be like, yeah, because I'm a conceptual artist. I don't go to the studio and be like, single, guys, we're looking for a single. Nah, everything's a single. And we're doing the album, and this is the theme, and this is what we're going for. And then sometimes it's also like I'm creating, and then I realize, oh, snap. This is all cohesive, this moment right here, these last 5 weeks or 3 months. That's this. With Raw specifically, I wanted to go back to basics. Yo, no fancy choruses, no singing. Let me just get straight hard beats and give them hard raps what they want right now. I was pointing out freestyles on Instagram and people was like, yo, you going nuts. Okay, you want that? Take that real quick. And we got more projects loading up before the summer's done too. The 3 months I had off, I got maybe 4 or 5 projects in the stash. Yeah.
It's on now. You don't have that time. It's on
Yeah.
now. And the best way to, stay up to date with everything that Arts is doing, and make sure y'all follow him on Instagram, all social media. Make sure you following on all the streaming sites, because like he said, there's more music coming on the way. We got Roar, the EP getting ready to drop. Now I looked online. It's a couple of little packages you can buy on Even and get some
Yeah.
exclusive content, get some merch, all type of stuff. So tell them about that, and how can they support the Roar EP?
Yeah, so before public release on DSPs, before Spotify and Apple, the last few months while I was going through that traumatic experience, I said to myself, I'm like, I want to bring back the music to where I could differentiate the people who are there with me when the train is just moving and the people who are really fans of my work. That if at the end of the day I needed that money to produce this project, who would be the people who show up to buy tickets or to buy the EP? So on Even is a platform where it allows you to sell direct to consumer, similar to Bandcamp or any model like that. And there's a $20 package, which gives you the access to the EP right now before it drops everywhere. There's a $30 package, which gets you an invite to my community forum, a group chat I'm going to be creating where I put all the true reject dreamers on, and we can all chat and talk every day.
Okay.
It gives you access to the music videos before they come out. And a short film that I created for the project specifically.
Dope.
So you get that's for the $30 option. Now with the $50 option, you get all that I just mentioned, plus you get a spray painted T-shirt with the album cover, which you can see right here in the back, the animation.
Fire.
And it's me and Lucy, my dog, my bulldog, English bulldog, protecting me. And then as you can see on the ground, those is like the demons or whatever you want to call it. But to me, that's angst. That's angst on the floor right there. And she's roaring at them like, yo, back up
That's
off
fire.
my dad.
Cover art is amazing. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I do a lot in that realm. Very intentional with how I do creative direction and come up with the concepts of the cover art. Shouts to Lil Joe's for bringing my vision to life. I've worked with different visual artists too on that side of things. All about curation, right? So how I release the project to the final artwork. But yeah, that's a way that you could support. If you're located in the New York area, every copy of this does come with a free ticket to my show on June 14th in New York and Brooklyn. But all of it comes with incentives, right? So instead of buying that $20 bag of Zaza, skip out on that, or buy that and buy the project and then vibe, right?
You know what I mean? Make it work.
You know what I'm saying? Make it work. Or you could buy the $30 or the $50 joint, and if you really appreciate the music, there's a lot of incentives there. There's the exclusivity of I'm gonna find more joy into showing everybody who's bought so far and who buys the music videos before they drop.
Yeah.
And giving them that sneak peek of like, yo, what single video should I lead with?
Right.
What do y'all think about this?
Oh, that's fire. I love that.
Building that community.
Yeah,
and continuing to build it.
Shout out to Even. I released my latest project on there as well, and I love how you can get the community involved. Like it's definitely straight from the artist, buy the art from the artist, straight to you, the consumer, and the supporter, and then you get to interact and be a part of the whole process. If you become get the package where you can be a part of the community. So definitely make sure you guys are tuning in and tapping into that. I think it's incredible, the opportunity to just be a part of that, and then even gain access to all of these different things that you have available and get a free ticket to your show. Like, come on, man. The deal is endless. It's a great deal.
And
your favorite artist ain't giving you all that.
Right. It's a steal. And I put my hustler's hat on for that one, where it was just like, yo, this is like when you get the 3 for $20 deal and you're like, nah, I can't pass up on that. Like,
can't pass up on that. Bag it up. Give me 2 of them. I need 6 total. You know what I mean?
100%. And I wanted to do that just because I didn't want people to feel like this was a money grab. Right. I wanted people to feel like you're getting more bang for your buck. And even just in 2 days, right, the accumulation of the sales that we have had, I think it would have accumulated already to 100,000 streams.
Crazy.
Right. So it's just like, yo, just those few people that really love my stuff. And now what those allocations allow me to do is for that next piece of content what you said, yo, why the whole world ain't got this art joint?
Right.
Well, guess what? That money and that budget and those sales go into that marketing, because nowadays it's one bag to create the product,
Right.
but
It's
then
a
it's an
whole
even more
nother.
expensive bag, and to push that product to the world. And
Right.
I done been seen by millions already, but in this point, 10 million ain't enough. We got to
Right.
get to hundreds of millions,
Come on,
right?
man.
Like, so yeah, that's why I wanted to take the different approach. Again, it'll still get to DSPs eventually.
Right.
But for the first few people that come through the doors, they'll get that exclusivity. And even when it's out on DSPs, those people ain't getting access to all the behind the scenes stuff or the
Exactly.
videos before they drop or those
Right.
things.
Right.
So you're
It's
a real arts
incentives.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, come rock out with your boy. And I'm gonna utilize the opportunity just also to continue to, like I said, build more community, to where I sit there and say, okay, if I got these 100 people in this chat room, I know these are the people who rock with me every day. They probably listen to me every day. How
Right.
could I help them too?
Right.
Is there questions
Exactly.
where on that chat where you can ask me and I'll be like, yo, yeah, go do this or do that. And I
Right.
think in today's era, we get lost in numbers so much that we don't think,
Very true.
we choose quantity over quality. And for me,
Yeah.
it's about quality listeners, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
about like, yo, okay, like when I go to on tour and there's people that's like, yo, like you saved my life with this record, or you really inspired me to do this. You got to sit back and be like, all right, this person ain't just a regular listener.
Right. This is a
You know,
real
this
true
the
rider.
person you got,
This a real
for
reject
sure.
right here.
And you got to really, as an artist, you got to pay attention to those people, because that's your real tribe. Like,
Right.
I know that when I go to West Coast, there's a couple cats that every time I go to West Coast, they pop out and they show mad love. And I'm talking about, they become my street team. They handing out posters. They got
Right.
a bag. When I was
Invested.
smoking,
Yeah.
they got a whole ounce of bud waiting for me when I hit the airport. They
Yeah.
still buy a ticket. And it's just like, for those people, guess what? I'm shouting your brand out on the gram for free.
Right.
I'm going, I'm doing a meet and greet. I'm signing the autographs. Your daughter is how old? All right, let me sign a poster for her. Like,
Right.
and putting that extra appreciation into that, because
Facts.
that goes a long way.
Facts. And you know what? Before we wrap it up, a part of the reason why I came up with the Get to Know Me podcast is because I wanted to be one of those people that, kind of presented a platform for other artists to support other artists, because only we truly know what it takes to be an artist and to put in that work. As a person that's not really into the background of everything, that you might see us posting our music or posting our videos, and you're like, oh, cool, that person does music, whatever, scroll. But whenever you
Right.
listen to an interview like this, as much as we went through and as much as your story and your testimony has really moved me, I know it's going to move other people, but it's hard to listen to something like this and not support this artist. You know what I mean? Like, after you've expressed so much and told us your journey and how you come up with this stuff and how you create this and how much you put into it, and just the ups and downs of you creating and the ups and downs of life, it's like, yeah, this should put that cherry on top. If it already wasn't on top by you guys listening to this interview, I hope that that really moves you to go and spend the money. Go follow Arts. Go comment, like, share. Let Arts know, hey, I listened to your interview on the Get to Know Me podcast. BizZy told me to come follow you. I'm over here. I want to know everything. What's the next date? Where's the next tour? You know what I mean? Get involved, because that's what the whole point of the podcast is. We want to see everybody supporting everybody that's on the show. So, Arts, I truly appreciate you coming on the show today. It was such a pleasure getting to know you and hearing your story. And I look forward to more, man. The music is great. Like
Thank
I
you.
said, you definitely gained a fan in me. I'm not just saying that. You're gonna be seeing me all over your page now from all my
Say
pages.
Yo, and yeah, I'm truly grateful for being on the platform. I'm also want to just give your flowers to you, right? You saying what you just said, right? And complimenting me, but you being an artist, not afraid to also put the spotlight on other artists. I think that's very beautiful, and I think that's very selfless, right? So I appreciate you, BizZy, for
Sure,
obviously
man.
having me. For the people out there that are listening and viewing, there's more to know. So keep
Yeah.
getting to know me. And
Love it.
love, blessings. Reject forever. You know the vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell the people where they can find you before we get out of here.
Yep, you can find me at ARTZ on all social media platforms. Arts with all capitals, ARTZ in all capitals on Spotify, Apple Music. You can go to rejectdreams.com. And you can catch me outside because that's where I be.
I love
But
it. It's
love to
BizZy,
everybody.
BalBoa, and Arts on the Get to Know Me podcast. Y'all stay safe but stay dangerous. We out.
Reject, yeah.
Doc Marzi.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Get to Know Me podcast. New episodes release weekly on Saturdays and Wednesdays. In the weeks where we skip, please tune into our previous episodes. Other ways to support is word of mouth, following us on all social media and podcast platforms, and supporting a guest on our show. You also can become a subscribed listener by signing up as low as 99 cents a month, where you will have access to exclusive episodes, a chance to win prizes, and more. Again, thank you for tuning into the Get to Know Me podcast, created and hosted by BizZy, BalBoa.